I couldn't find my Yankee hat.
Good evening, everybody. How are we doing today for another YouTube exclusive? Now, guys, we've had this fascination, I guess is the best way to put it, with interviewing ring announcers on the show, and we've had plenty of them. We've had Rich Reed, we've had David Adams, you name it, we have it. And guys, making his return
Thank you.
to the ETR network and to the Arnold podcast, the one, the only, Mr. Shane Fair himself. Shane, how you doing tonight?
Thank you, John. Thanks for having me, man. I appreciate it, buddy.
Oh, it's my pleasure. But definitely, I forgot the name of the show now. That's happening on Saturday. I literally just drew a blank
I believe in a thing called love. The song by The Darkness, of course. I will
because it
not
seems
at
like
any time make an attempt to hit that high note during that evening for the betterment of mankind.
it seems the trend has been to use every '90s reference song for all the
Right, right.
shows so far.
The one hit wonders. That's the theme this year at
Oh
Pro
yeah,
Wrestling
that's the
Magic.
best I can look at. But before we get into what's coming up this week, and I know you guys just had my worst enemy the end of January, I kind of want to go back a little bit to how we closed out 2022.
Oh boy. All
Not
right.
I know it didn't go how you wanted it to. First of all, I
No.
commend you on your announcing of it because I can tell when certain people were getting eliminated, all of a sudden you had a change in your voice.
Yeah, I try to be impartial, but all the cards were on the table, so I couldn't help but root for my team, of course, and
Oh,
the RTB guys.
of course, but let me ask you this: top to bottom, what were your thoughts on that show as an overall?
It was kind of like a renaissance, you know what I mean? It was like it really drove me back to pre-pandemic pro wrestling magic, and we had like that packed building where the crowd was very invested in the show, and likewise we were very invested in the crowd and like bringing them the best that night, and that was just insane. It was from top to bottom, Donovan Pacifico, and like every match just really was just absolutely incredible. It was a really special way to end the night. I mean, end
Well,
the 2022.
I mean, especially when you open up the show and it's probably two of the bigger guys in Pro Wrestling Magic in Kerr and Moff. I mean, you can't get better than that.
Right, and I'm a firm believer. Like you have to start the show strong. Like Pro Wrestling Magic has always done that in the past with like the Ace Romero's Open Challenge and such
Mhm.
like that. And it's so integral to having a successful event is to having that first match right on the card to get people invested and to really raise the bar for the rest of the evening for all the talent and everything like that. And believe me, there's like a lot of curtain peeking and people watching the monitor, in the back, and it's a collaborative effort, but there is always that competitive nature among the roster to kind of outdo each other. So like when you set the bar that high coming right out of the gate, that's it's only going to be healthy for the rest of the year.
Yeah, and like I said, you had Kerr and Moff open it, and
Right.
then like you just said, raising the bar up. So what do Pacifico and Donovan do? Oh, we'll raise it up a couple more feet.
That was incredible. Donovan, I think, is like a real unsung hero at Pro Wrestling Magic and just like an independence in general. There's something that like I always mention with him is like his cardio. Like he's just incredible, man. Like people half his age or like half his time in the business would be winded early, but he could just run circles around half of the younger talent, and he just is unstoppable. He has like that like that runner's stamina where he could just keep going. And that's just something cool to watch. And in that match, it was extreme. You don't really get to see Donovan in that extreme type match or Pacifico. It was kind of like, way out of both their elements, and like watching them come off that ladder and just is going to be one of the, top 10, top 5 Pro Wrestling Magic, instant classic time of matches for sure.
Well, the funny thing is, where I was in that room, because I was by, I guess, where it would be where the hard cam was,
Sure.
where we had the table. I saw them go up the ladder. I didn't see what happened afterwards, so I rewatched IWTV, which, by the way, folks, any Pro Wrestling Magic show that you missed, definitely go watch on IWTV. It's
Right.
usually up within a couple of days.
Exactly. You watch the live, watch it live, which is always, the case. And then there's like about 1 or 2 day grace period by like Monday, Tuesday. Like you'll see the full event appear, as among our already extensive back catalog that's
Oh,
available on IWTV.
yeah. And I finally got a chance to see him go through it. I'm like, oh my god.
Oh, he went through hard. You could see that Dor rather really didn't take any of the velocity off of his fall. He was already at terminal velocity when he was coming off that ladder, and the way that the ladder was situated, it was only about a foot off the ground to begin with. So like he shattered that, but it really didn't affect his gravitational pull there to the Knights of Columbus floor.
That's a good way. But then we're also forgetting about another match from that night. I mean, we can praise Moth and Kerr, we can praise Donovan and
Sure.
Pacifico, but you also have the tag team titles
Right. Oh, definitely.
with Death Row and Espados Unidos.
Yeah, that was a war that took place all of 2022, and Españos Unidos, there's safety numbers with them, so it's like you're always, while you may be just facing on Felipe and Cage or Felipe and Azrael that night, Donovan's always going to assert himself. You're always going to have Pena in the mix, and no matter what, and JC Storm, don't just discount her. She's already
Oh,
interfered in a number of matches. So it's like you can when you're a two-man team like is as big as they are, it's kind of like the numbers are stacked against them. So that was really an underdog situation despite their size and despite they'd already been world tag team champions in the past.
well, the nice part also, I got a chance to see them, with with their rivalry take place over at the Hall of Fame back in
Oh,
August.
right, exactly. We had a great time there, man.
Oh yeah, that
That
was that.
that was
Yeah,
one of
that.
the greatest. I don't know about you. That was like one of the greatest times of my time in wrestling up at
Oh
the International Hall of Fame with you guys. And I was certainly there. I don't really even give him enough praise, but Mike Falvo is like selflessly um, kind of invited me to you know the Brocky Johnson Medal of Metal, which was presented to Azalea last year, and allowing me to make that speech and such like that. And that was all Mike Falvo, and it was like
well,
surreal to look out of the podium, and like to my left I saw JJ Dillon just grilling me. Like he looked like I don't know, like just because of his face, he just looked like, he hated my guts or something. I don't know. I was like projecting this. He was probably just sitting
well,
there enjoying his dinner, but seeing that scowl in the crowd, I was like,
oh,
oh boy,
well. Here's
tough
the funny
crowd.
part. I say that's also a great weekend because it was his birth of this
Oh yes, your
uh,
Motor Royal, the
coffee.
I love it. The
Uh,
Around the Ropes podcast official blend.
yes, yes, and that whole weekend. I mean, it's a weekend that it's the one thing I regret from that weekend
Right.
was not going actually to the Hall of Fame itself.
Yeah, but in hindsight though, we did get to see a lot of the items that were
Oh
on
yeah.
display at the actual dinner that night.
Well,
So that was kind of cool. It like came to us in a sense.
well, here the nice part also. I remember the table we were at because we were at the table. I'm trying to remember the room setup. We were at the table all the way to. I think you were actually at our table. If I
Yeah,
remember correctly.
exactly. We had the Bushwhacker
Bushwhacker
lunch.
Luke. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. And then that was kind of cool too. Like
Oh,
just hearing his stories
oh yeah.
throughout the night.
It's just fun, and we actually just saw him recently at down in Baltimore for Celebfest,
Oh
and he
wow,
actually still remembers us.
very cool. Yeah, I
And
hope to see him again.
I'm sitting, I'm going, this is freaking Bushwhacker Luke we're talking about.
That's great. Yeah,
But no,
that's what's sick. It's like you're sitting there eating dinner, and it's like an action figure that you played with as a child is like sitting next to you. It's like,
oh,
wow, man, I played with your Hasbro figure, hours on end, and then it's
well,
like you're sitting next to an action figure like of your
well,
childhood. That's some of the
oh,
magic that wrestling can give you.
I'll go a step further. Doing the show and getting a chance to talk to a lot of these guys, especially in the
Mhm.
indies and some of the guys who have been in WWE and on the bigger stages. I'm like, and now the funny part is a lot of them actually know who I am now.
That's great. Yeah,
And I sit there and go, I'm not a big show. I look
that's
at
cool.
I look at my show as like, okay, I may be a fan, I have a platform,
Hmm.
but it's like also I got people who are coming up to me. Like we were just up in Schenectady
Oh,
for
okay.
Immortal Championship Wrestling, and I had guys coming up there going. Once I said the name, and they're like, "Oh, I've heard of you guys." I'm like, "Wait, what?"
Oh, cool.
It's like I just sit there and I
That's
go,
redeeming.
"Oh,
You guys put a lot of work in.
oh,
You know,
it's
you especially.
it's a nice feeling, especially with the whole success of this."
Right.
But obviously, let's address the elephant in the room. Obviously, you had a pretty big match. Even though, yes, folks, Shane didn't actually get into the ring,
Hmm.
even though I was expecting that to happen at some point.
Yeah, maybe it would have. You know, in lieu of legit Perfect Perkins, who ultimately helped betray us. That might have been a good call. So I don't know. It was just such a rough night to watch that go and to watch it. At that point, I only had 50% GM privileges, and I never really fully got to enjoy it from day one because it's like I only had 100% for a very limited time, and then Smiley had to you know find his like a parasite. He had to take it away from me. Like like the one thing that because he wants to crush joy. That's basically what he wants to do at the end of the day. And he saw the joy that I had in my general managerialship. And if it would have been whatever it would have been, if I had any kind of thing that I was proud of, he would have tried to take it, whether it be a physical item or the GM ship. He had no interest in it, and he still continues to have no interest in it. I believe. You
So,
know,
good way to put it. I would say a good way to put it is he'd be Smiley would be the type of person because, like you just said, he loves to take the joy away from people. Smiley would be the person who turns around to a bunch of kids and tells them the truth about Santa Claus.
Right, exactly. And he's like, like that hack Batman, just watch the world burn, kind of
Oh,
like, um that complex is within him where he just wants to watch the world burn in essence. I don't mean to be hack with that, but you know, he's just a joy crusher. And the fact that he has people like, like minions, like the Psycho Bear, Osito, who for some reason I see him elsewhere, and it's like I don't know what Osito's going to show up, if it's going to be Psycho Bear or if I'm going to wind up dancing with my friend Osito. It's like you never know which one, but I give him that leeway because I love Osito. But Eden, or as he like Elijah Eden, but now I that was one of the first things after Smiley became GM that I was informed um, that Eden, we would like to just go by Eden now, not Elijah Eden, despite
oh.
so that was one of the, and that's a cool name. I'm not gonna lie.
He wanted to get the WWE treatment.
Of the three of them, like I find him like the most likable, like at that current situation. I do, you know, I think I don't know why he affiliates himself with the group with Project Mayhem, but I do feel that there is some inherent good in him. So I don't know. I'm
Shane,
probably
if I
way
tried to
off.
sit here and try to explain logic in pro wrestling,
Right.
we'd be here all night.
Oh, absolutely.
But one other match I want to get to, then we'll get
Sure.
away from this, is the women's match, the women's title match, which
Mm,
originally was supposed to be Ruthless Lala against JC Storm.
right.
But then there was a surprise.
Oh, yes.
And it was a surprise to people in the I say venue, but in the Mecca, if you want to call it that.
Yes. Oh, and I do.
I
I've
know
been
you do.
prone. I've dubbed it
Um,
that, in fact.
but yes, we saw the debut, the return, however you want to look at it,
Hmm.
of Notorious Mimi, who has been going on a tear the last
Absolutely.
month or so. So with that, how was
Mm.
Paul and Matt? First of all, however much you want to say is fine. How much notice did you have before that switch?
I have been pushing for Mimi to be a Pro Wrestling Magic since, like, before any GM ship or anything like that. Just being in Steve Luff's ear, her pageantry and her presentation match, the Pro Wrestling Magic production, from the ramp to the lighting to everything else. Like, I feel like that's a grand stage for her. And I missed it dearly in New Jersey when she was slowing Jacobs out, in NXT and everything like that. And they seemed to like just fumble the ball where they had a gift wrap talent presented to them that was flawlessly polished and was just like ready to present to television, and they just overmanaged her, like you would see like Joe Girardi and like the early 2000s Yankees or something, like like you're just an overmanagement where they felt that they had to put her in a Sloane Jacobs character where she already had developed this goddess like character that was so apropos, and she's talk about baseball like a 5-tool player and everything like that. And I hate the fact that I called Casey Navarro, who also, first off, Casey Navarro and Mimi were the two most obvious talents I've ever seen in all of my time in independent wrestling, that were the head and shoulders above the rest. Like they're the most obvious talents that should be on the next level, who were just like I believed in so wholeheartedly. But Casey Navarro, I once called him a 5-tool player, and he then applied that name to Anthony Bowens, and Bowens kind of ran with it. But 5-tool player in baseball is like a prospect like that can field, bat, throw, base run, and there's always the fifth one that I'm always bad at. But
I
I'm
know, I know what
missing.
you're talking about. I've heard
But
it
in
before.
wrestling, it's the same. You have your in ring, you have your promo, you have your look, you have your overall athleticism. Like, and then Mimi was the exemplification of a 5-tool player. She was like, she has it all. Like, I'm not going to say that in the past tense. She currently has it all. So when she came to Pro Wrestling Magic, I was ecstatic. And already, I love Lala. Lala is legendary in my book as a person and as a performer and an athlete and all that. And JC Storm, despite her Españos Unidos involvement, is one of my favorite human beings on earth. So the fact that you had these three people that was such a representation of Pro Wrestling Magic, like the pageantry of Mimi, you had the athleticism and just like the level of presentation that you had with JC Storm, and then you had just the sheer ferocity of Lala, and like you had these three things that were just three elements that were just so completely alike and not alike at the same time, that just was like the holy triumvirate. It was really to have that triple threat's my favorite match type to begin with, but to have those three athletes in that match, for that championship was, outstanding. That, of course, was another piece of the night, that was really special.
Well,
And
I
of
think
course,
it,
Steve Off. We
oh,
cannot discount Steve Off, because
oh,
freaking Steve Off, um, he earned it, man. He's earned everything that he's ever gotten at Pro Wrestling Magic and everything like that by he is the backbone and the heart and soul of that promotion. Like, he is the one constant force that, while management has changed, he's been left, to clean up the proverbial mess oftentimes, and done so like gracefully and like just really really well. So the fact that he got to celebrate that night was
oh yeah. And
definitely
the other thing I was going to say though, with the women's match,
right.
is the three of them between JC, Ruthless Lala, and Mimi.
Mhm.
The stage was perfect.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, it was absolutely.
I mean, granted, yeah, I think it would have done well at any of the Pro Wrestling Magic shows,
Hmm.
but when this one is sort of like the quote unquote the WrestleMania for Pro
Right.
Wrestling Magic,
Right. Exactly.
you couldn't have asked for a better
I'm,
stage.
I'm a huge, I'm a huge Mimi fan and supporter, and I always will be. And then, JC, not discounting anything from Lala, because she'll break my neck. I love Lala, and like, we talk all the time, and I love, we've both been there for each other in like difficult situations, like when we were both like going through some shit. So I love Lala, but JC, that's my girl. Like I love JC to no end, my favorite human being, and like I can't say enough about her as well. Like,
Oh yeah,
I think she's
and
she's just one of the coolest people that I've ever met. Like,
I'll put it this way: I've learned not to be on the bad side of Lala because she's been
I
on the show twice now. Yeah, it was twice,
oh
and
yeah,
both times she's been on, somehow it's turned into John. Not next time, but one of these days, her and I are going to have a discussion. I'm like, oh crap.
Discussion. Yeah, that's definitely a word she uses. She is very vocal about any wrongdoings or transgressions against herself, and like
Uh-huh.
she will let you know, and you know at least though she'll give you a time to correct it before she hurts you though.
Well, mind you, also, it wasn't me specifically. It
Hmm.
was other people who are not affiliated with the show anymore.
Oh, I see. Yes. See, I can't really comment on that because I don't know what happened.
Yeah,
But
that's a
again,
long story.
falling back to JC Storm, that is she is like, that's our girl at Pro Wrestling Magic. And like, that's somebody that I think anybody we would jump over each other to protect her and to vouch for her. Like,
Oh,
JC Storm is a golden human being. So
oh,
like you know
I totally agree.
and I
And
think
I,
there's been like without getting too specific, especially I guess, you don't want to cross any legal boundaries, but I think that in lieu of certain events, I'm sorry, in light of certain events, that there was a kind of fortification of this business to protect JC Storm, and certainly Christina Marie is somebody that is equally loved like that in the locker room.
mhm,
That's just like a locker room gem, like like almost like a Dan Moff or somebody like that. That's how we feel about JC Storm, and that's how we feel about Christina Marie. Like
oh,
those, they are the diamonds of the locker room, and like they are, they're treated with such protection and respect. Like that they'll always be a front.
I totally get that. Trust me. And like I said, overall, I thought that show was great. I have seen bits and pieces of My Worst Enemy
Mhm.
just because I just laugh at the fact that they're using that Smiley is using every '90s one hit wonder
Yeah,
every show. I want to sit there and go. So when are we gonna get? Oh God, there's one that I remember hearing. I forgot the name of it now. Damn it.
flagpole sitter or something
Yeah,
like.
something like that. I'm waiting
Yeah.
for that one. I'm waiting to hear Pro Wrestling Magic presents Flagpole Sit. I'm like,
Local H down to the floor, down there, like some shit like that.
or Pro Wrestling Magic presents Jump Around.
Oh, see, it's like I don't the Barry Manilow themed events at Pro Wrestling Matches was probably like my favorite. That was my favorite time because at least I find that people in wrestling, like, I don't want to say this and like sound too snooty, but their taste in music and movies is fucking preposterous. So
Oh
it's like
yeah.
I don't want to say more than that.
Well, I mean, granted, if they did or anybody did like Pro Wrestling Magic presents Enter Sandman, I wouldn't have a problem with that.
Right, right.
But yeah, to sit there and say, yeah, we're gonna do one of with the ones they have, I'm like, only Pro
I love
Wrestling
the
Magic.
songs though. Like I believe in a thing called love is definitely one of those one hit wonder songs that Darkness was like, that was a pretty powerful song. You thought they were going to be around for a while, especially that video at the time.
And here's the funny part: to anybody who's watching this right now who may be under the age of 30,
Mm,
folks, it's called YouTube. Look up the
yeah,
song.
look it up. You'll enjoy the song. He's like, if you like Freddie Mercury or you like the Queen, false nostalgia, you'll love his voice for sure. So,
Well, like
he's got a great falsetto.
I just did an interview beforehand, and we started talking about stuff like KB Toys and Toys R Us
Oh, sure.
and all that stuff. And I'm like, my God, for anybody who's watching this who was born like 2000,
Hmm.
I might as well be telling them that what we're talking about is like a record.
KB was interesting too. They had a lot of shitty toys like right in the front, like that
Oh,
dumb like fishing game with the magnet and like all that stuff. You'd have to get to the
oh,
good stuff in the back.
oh yeah, that's one of the places that it's like I'm like because thing is I'm right at that age. So for me, it's like I remember KB Toys. I remember
Oh,
going
definitely.
to Toys R Us back in the day.
Well, I know Kitty City and like stuff like that. Sure.
But it's so funny when I look at people now,
Shoplifting. I'm sorry.
and it's funny because I look at people now and I mention to them about these certain things, and they're like, "What's KB Toys?" And I'm
Oh god.
like, don't make me feel. I mean, okay, I'll go this story. I still remember growing up having to record on a VHS tape
All right. Yeah, definitely.
Because the funny and this quick story with that was there was one time I had to come home early from school, and I ended up deleting my mom's General Hospital recorded,
Oh God.
and I learned very quickly you don't mess with a woman's soap operas.
I remember there was like some VCRs. I think it was called VCR Plus or something like that. And like you would look in the TV guide, right? So it would say like, Saturday night's main event, and next to it would say 843-90262. So then you go on your VCR, you just type in 94323, and it would set the VCR for like Saturday 10:30 p.m. Like it had like a code next to each show. It was
Uh,
like
but
it was pretty interesting. VCR Plus,
but
good times.
God, I'm feeling old right now even
Oh,
just
I
thinking
know,
about
I know.
because
Saved a
we
lot of those tapes. I all the HBO boxing. Like I used to tape everything on VHS. I still saved all like the Fernando Vargas fights and like Roy Jones Jr. fights.
which is but it's so funny. It's like I'm sitting here and people are bringing it up and they're like, what's a VHS tape? I'm going,
Oh
I'm
God,
not supposed to feel old.
that's just ignorance though, because it's like when I was a kid, I knew like what reel to reel was. I knew what Betamax was. I never even saw one, but I knew what the hell it was. Like
Oh,
it was like that's just like I think there's just such a cutoff. Like people only go after the I don't know. I guess the information that's more pertinent to them. Like we were just more exposed to like information. Shit, I guess spammy information. Like we would
oh,
learn about things that we. Didn't seek the knowledge for just by. I think
well,
now it's more that you have such a mainline focus of you know what you want to learn, and you just ascertain that knowledge. And we were getting shit thrown at us from every direction
oh,
that was so useless. You know,
well. Also, we're talking about a time period where it was before YouTube.
it's funny. Like I mean, I'm not trying to like be pandery or anything but it is Black History Month, and I was talking with my friend about Black Wall Street in Tulsa, how like they burned a black city to the ground just simply out of jealousy. Like like there was a in Tulsa where they had this quote unquote Black Wall Street that was a community that was all businesses that were black owned, and like they tried to like branch out on their own, and it was burned to the ground, and like all these people killed, this, that, and the other thing. And I was telling my friend, I was like, where was that in a textbook? That seemed like that was pretty big event in American history.
Oh,
That like that
God.
was never in there was like so many like so I begin to see like a lot of the point about where it's like certain information was like I don't know, it was so strange when we were kids the way that we were fed like quote unquote social studies and such like that, like a lot of things were omitted.
Oh, well, the that's one I laugh at now, and then we'll get back into the wrestling stuff in a second, is when kids now are in high school, and especially middle school and high school, and they're learning about stuff like 9/11
Oh God,
and in the history book. And I'm like,
can only imagine how they present on that. So.
but I'm sitting, I'm going, I lived through that.
Oh, I know. You know what? On that
Especially,
morning, I was working for Canada Dry, and I was in the truck with my friend Timmy. Right, so we were going to Costco, and then plane hit. So the first thing I thought was like a plane hit the World Trade. So I thought when we finally got to a TV and like looked in Costco that we were going to see a plane with like the tail end hanging out. And I was like, and for some dumb reason in my head, I'm like, oh, maybe the pilot survived. Like the stranger things have happened. Like so who knows? And then finding out the severity of it. So the second plane hit. So then we knew that it was commercial jet, because we were only listening to the radio at this point. Like we're on
yeah.
our way to the first stop, and I remember turning to the guy Timmy in the truck, and I said, "I wonder if it was Osama bin Laden." So it's like at least I had the presence of mind, like to know what Well, if that was the full story, I guess we'll never know. But
No, no.
I'm sure he was certainly involved, though. I'm not
Oh, yeah.
gonna
But but actually, one other thing I want to get to before we get into the show.
Yeah, that was a weird. Yeah.
Oh no, it's but Shane. You know, with us, we
I'm
go
ready.
on 27 different tangents, but then we somehow get back into wrestling. Um, you actually just did a very nice fundraiser recently on
All right,
Facebook.
yeah, for the Community Food Bank of New Jersey. It was like it was a cause that was like near and dear to SP Anderson, his heart, and I could see the frustration that he was going through, that the funds weren't coming in like in as fast as he wanted. And I identified that with how I felt with basketball, like those sleepless nights when it's like, how am I going to make this happen? And I kind of like empathized, like, with what he was going through. So I was like, I want to do something to kind of get the ball rolling. So I'd done pictures with Brian K at BCW where it was like with baseball season coming, I took the mic and I took like a baseball stance. So right away I was like, I should make some baseball cards out of this. And then I thought, what better way to do that and make these cards and then to help SP with this fundraiser. So I charged $10 a piece, and some people gave more, and I thank you too, Mr. Blaine. You were one of the first people, and we raised the money and got the over $315, which translates to over 900 meals, because the way the community food bank in New Jersey works, they're able to equate $1 into 3 meals based on the system that that they've found and such like that. So they received donations. I know SP was talking about it on a podcast the other night, so I happened to catch what he was saying about any like feminine hygiene products, stuff like that, toiletries. They always need stuff like that, canned meats, tuna, spam, anything like that. So they're always looking for things like that, and they're always looking for cash donations. So if you could help, if you just search SP Anderson, he posts about it like 15 times a day. I'm sure you could find the link. So just go on there. He's very close to his goal. I think he's like over $700 out of his $1,000 goal. And Jay Akira, who's a guy I love, he's out in Ohio now. He was a local New York wrestler who was extremely talented, and then I think it's Wildcat Wrestling. I'm not mistaken. I think they're out of Ohio, and he raised a bunch of money, I know, for SP as well. So it's like,
Well, I'm telling this right now, and I'll try to message SP in the next couple of days. I will try to get something together for the ATR Network and the On Ropes podcast to help.
Oh, that's cool, man. Because he's close. It'd be cool, And one thing I noticed about any kind of charity, like once it gets close to its goal, that's when like the momentum really starts to catch on. Like people want to help you. Not so much at the beginning, but when they see that it's going coming close to fruition, like they'll tend to give a little bit more and everything like that. And that's when you exceed, the goal at that point. So
I'll see him at the Gata show.
Yeah, there's always unconventional ways to raise money, like everything like that. Like I turned the money that it cost me into printing the Topps cards into that amount of money. So it's like you can always take unconventional means. People like to have something physical for like their donation, and rightfully so. Even if it's not like they're buying something, just like people like to commemorate a nice gesture, and as they should. So
it's always
totally good to give something to them.
And like I said, I think he'll be at the Titan show on Forgotus.
Yeah, I think he's still GM, right? I hope he is.
Think so. So I will.
He's a great GM.
I will definitely talk to him and see about the Around the Ropes podcast.
Yeah, they got to be real close. They got to be real close. So.
But let's get now to what's happening with you guys on Saturday.
Yes, indeed. At the Mecca.
Yeah, at the Mecca. And as it was touted on Facebook, you are the mouth of the Mecca.
Yes, indeed. I gave the Mecca its name, so I'm that's like the proudest I am about anything. And people kind of besmirch it for being called the Mecca and everything like that. But simply just like the Muslim community makes their pilgrimage to Mecca, like all promotions and fans make their pilgrimage to Mecca. And there's so many different promotions. So that's the thing.
Because we've had a few people, we've had Papanat on, and Vicious Vicky on.
Right.
And they both made the same comment about, I want to go work the Mecca. I'm like, are you talking Madison Square Garden or Ridgefield Park?
Right. And what was their answer? I'm curious.
They're like, well, we've worked Ridgefield Park already. We're talking the other Mecca.
Don's been there. Yeah, exactly. But I play for, not playfully, but the independent wrestling, the Mecca of independent wrestling in New Jersey. I like to refer to it.
But it's, when you think about it, it's true, because I feel like there's no promotion in the state of New Jersey that hasn't run a show through that building.
No, and it's the litmus test. It's like, let's see what you can do, how many people you can bring to the building and such like that.
Well, that's I think the thing is, it's almost like the old saying that if you can make it in New York, you can make it anywhere.
Right.
it's almost like, well, if you can draw well and do well at Ridgefield Park, then any building in New Jersey would be a walk in the park.
It's, you know, as far as, you know, other buildings in New Jersey, I know, of course, Rollaway Rec Center. Everybody loves that building. It's a great building. And like Ridgefield Park, there's parking's great. You know, there's a lot of good places to eat nearby. I understand that and everything like that. But, you know, that simply is, you know, one or two promotions run there and everything like that. And then in respect to them, it's a very large size building. Like, you know, there's a lot of, I don't think there's a lot of promotions that run at Ridgefield Park that couldn't run at Rollaway. So, you know, given that and everything, but that's also the inclusion about Ridgefield Park, that the fact that those promotions can run at Ridgefield Park,
Huh?
whether it's 30 people or 300 people, like, you know, there's a place for many different promotions at Ridgefield Park. And production wise, from the hole in the floor that leads right down to the router to you know, the, like, there's so many, like, just bells and whistles about that building,
Oh,
although it's like aging, and, you know, there's certain rooms that probably aren't being used or necessitated just out of sheer age, and, you know, such
well,
like
then
that.
there's also
But
the
it's,
hole on the stage.
yeah, yeah. Or we could look down or whatnot. Or, well, there's the hole in the wall where Darius put me through the wall, which
Yeah,
I plan on sheetrocking. I'm very good with the sheetrock, so I'm gonna patch that up nicey nice. But
but
I
let's.
love the building, and I
Right.
always, that's my favorite building to be at.
It's. I have been in that building quite a few times now, and it's nice when I walk in there and I feel like I'm at home.
Oh, definitely. You know,
I mean, yes, granted, the show has had quite a history in that building with all of our food challenges,
right, right. Yeah, it was
but
that, was the 20 out of 52 weeks
yeah,
last year. So,
that was. It's funny, the infamous my profile picture, the one where I looked like I
you in
had
this
like.
damn one ship challenge, bro. It's like, yeah, like you in Vietnam or something.
Oh no, we after that one, I looked at what I looked at him at Carl, and I'm like, no more, no more.
But did you do it right and not drink for an hour? Because otherwise you didn't do it.
Oh
That's,
no, we the second one we lasted. Oh god, he lasted all of 10 seconds, and I lasted about 20 seconds.
ah, yeah.
Because the thing was, because you have to also remember, we did the challenge the night beforehand at
Mm-hmm.
Colossal, which was the
Oh,
three White Castle burgers
those
with
fire
all the hot
pepper.
sauces.
Oh, right.
So you have that in our system already. Add the one chip challenge into it,
Oof.
and it's like I think I ended up spending the entire second half because I remember that show. It was uh, the Halloween show, the one where you infamously was wearing a dress.
Right, exactly. Very comfortable, I gotta say.
A little breezy.
Yeah, you know, Mr. Cole, he was like, man, he was like, the fact you went that hard for that, he's like, I'll never forget that. He's like, that you went that hard for us. I was like,
Well,
I'm a team player. There's
the
nothing
funny
off the table.
the funny thing I remember with that was because I had such a reaction to it. You can't ask me what happened the second half of that show. I don't remember.
Oh, really?
I was that's how much I was in the. I kept having to run back and forth to the restroom because I was like, I'm gonna throw up. I'm gonna throw up.
Yeah, I've been there.
So it was like not fun. But yes, let's get into what's happening on February 25th. I feel like it's the
Exactly.
day that
First,
every promotion in New Jersey is running a show.
well, I hope you choose, you know, if you're listening, I hope you choose ours. It's door times 5 p.m. Uh, you know, we have a full night, you know, but want to go match by match, you know.
Yeah, but
So the big one, Kerr versus Dark STG. That's, you know, Kerr is putting the championship on the line against Dark STG. Gibkey's, you know, been a tag team champion. You know, he's been a force at Pro Wrestling Magic since the beginning. Now, you know, as Dark STG, this is his shape is impeccable, man.
oh,
He's one of the best conditioned athletes that is in the sport. He's just a total workhorse. I love, you know, like pulling back the curtain a little bit, you know, because I know he's a demon and he's Dark STG, but Dark STG, man, his gym repertoire is like insane. Like this
oh,
guy works harder than, you know what I mean? Nothing is handed to him, man. That dude works his ass off. So he deserves this championship coming.
well,
We haven't seen Dark STG really at the Kingdom, you know, but to walk in and take a championship match against Kerr, he totally deserves it. He has like an anytime fast pass in my opinion.
I was gonna say, knowing who won the Chad Adams Memorial Battle Royal, and I know one of the other matches we're gonna get into is for a fast pass towards the heavyweight title. Kerr really has to keep his head on a swivel.
Right. Yeah. And that's the difference between Pro Wrestling Magic now as opposed to like say 2020, whereas like you only had one or two people on the bubble, challenging for that championship. Now you have a field of like five or six, and they're all, ravenous. They all want the championship. So
Oh,
it's like like you said, you have to have your head on a swivel. It's coming from all directions now, including a direction that, Dark STG wasn't in the championship picture. It
yeah.
just came from out of nowhere. Now, rightfully so,
But
as this match.
I mean, granted, I have a feeling that Kerr is going to be victorious here.
Hmm.
Again, I stranger things have happened in pro wrestling,
Right.
but the way I see it playing out, and actually I'll wait on that till we get to the fast pass match because
Okay,
then it'll kind of
sure.
link in all
Talk about
together.
that next. Yeah,
Yeah,
that the fast pass match is going to be Dan Moff versus Alex Ryman. So, Alex Ryman and Steve Off, there's that old Rodney Dangerfield joke, hey, I got news for you. You can both do better, like about the couple in the audience. Well, that's them, man. Since they've split off, it's like the sum of the parts has gone so beyond the unity that they had with the American Murder Society. Like they're off on their own. I think they were so much more successful. While they were, they had multiple tag team championship runs, and certainly involved in crowning it a world championship over in England. um but once they split, they've like both kind of hit the stratosphere. Steve Off, it's no bullshit. It's not like, oh, let's fluff the boss and say how great he is. When you're talking to other people, like when I'm talking to other people in the business, they're all saying, wow, Steve Off looks good. He's doing really good. He's peaking, like, you know what I mean? Like he's everywhere. He's at all different promotions, SWF. He's like, you see him at a Titan, I believe is at Titan as well. Like he's hitting all of these the promotions, and he's on the championship bubble everywhere. So Ryman kind of has to keep that level too, because he knows they're always going to judge them side by side, because what have they done since American Murder Society? It's like an axe and Smash split off. You'd want to know, oh, Smash did this afterward. It's like that's the same equivalent of American Murder Society breaking up. It's like you never thought they would be apart, and like they are apart, and they're both thriving on their own.
you know what I would equate it to almost, and it's going to sound kind of odd. Put them in the same category as like a DIY, Champa
Oh,
and
sure.
Gargano,
Right.
where you have these
It's
two
true.
guys who came in. Nobody knew, not nobody knew, but nobody really knew who they were.
Hmm.
You thought, okay, they're never going to break these two up.
Hmm.
Look what happened when they broke up Champa and Gargano. Look at that year-long
Right.
run of
Exactly.
matches they had. That's the
Yep.
same thing
And
with Ryman and Steve Wolf. And I think with this match in particular, Ryman, yes, I know the last couple of matches he's had have been against Steve Wolf, but you're going into the ring right now with somebody like Knopf,
right.
who is, I always make the joke some people are building with legs. No, he's a boulder with legs.
Right. And in Pro Wrestling Magic, one of the traditions has always been that there is no rematch clause.
Hmm?
There's never been, that this was a gripe that Darius had of all of 2022 with me. This was his major gripe with me, that I never gave him a rematch. That is part of Magic lore. There's never been a rematch clause, for any championship. So this is the means for Dan Moff to get his quote unquote rematch, because if he gets the fast pass, now he's right back, the front of the line and everything.
Well,
So
also, the other nice part also is when it's Moff in the ring, we all know you give the performance where I still think you need oxygen right after.
oh yeah, I would happily die giving him off intro. And then if that does happen, just know that I went, the way it was intended. So
But what I was trying to get at before with Per and Dark SCG, which kind of goes into
mhm,
this, being that let's say if hypothetically speaking that Moff does win,
mhm.
do you realize then that not only do you have Moff going after Per, You also have Vargas going after Carr.
Yeah, he's still in the bubble, of course. As the Chad
So,
Adams,
and you also got Steve Pena. Can't forget about him.
right? He's still
So it's weird to think that out of if let's say there were to be a fatal four way down the road with all four of
hmm
those guys, it'd be weird to think Steve Pena would be the smallest one out of all four of them.
yeah, that's scary. And he, if you've ever stood near him, he's gladiatorial. That's the only way to describe him. He's gladiatorial.
Oh
He
yeah,
he looks like a Dominicano Roman gladiator.
oh yeah. But that would be one match if that were to happen. Where all of a sudden it'd be like, yeah, Kerr versus Vargas versus Moth versus Pena.
hmm
I'd be like, sign me up.
Oh, definitely. Well, what else we got? We have the Junior Heavyweight Championship. They newly crowned Vinny Pacifico puts it on the line against Psycho Bear Osito. And like we talked about earlier, that comes with Elijah. I mean, I'm sorry, that comes with Eden, that comes with
Yes.
Smiley, and that comes with Trixie. So like you're always prone to getting mist spit in your face. You're always prone to Trixie coming up on the apron and distracting the referee, and just unconventional means of them finding a way to win.
And
So the
oh,
fact Vinny's entertaining this match where he's had, you know, I wouldn't want to call EC3 stable, but more stable opponents where you're not going to have outside interference. You're not going to have a faction, aligned. And he's gone through Matt Seidel and like all these different opponents where they were lone wolves. They were coming, by themselves. They arrived to the locker room by themselves, no entourage, but now he's fighting a guy who has a group of three who, three other people who can affect the match at any point. So it's like this is kind of I don't know. It's ill advised for Vinny
but
Pacifico,
you
but
also hear another part of this whole thing. Smiley's unfortunately the current GM.
exactly.
So who's to say? Because I mean, like you just said before, yes, you have the three people there. You have Trixie, you have Smiley, and you have Eden. But then you also have
hmm
that fourth component where it sort of almost gives Smiley like that double role of yes, he can interfere, but also as the GM, he can also play some trick and all of a sudden it's be like
Absolutely,
where it's like, okay, guys, it's not going to be a singles match; it's going to be a 3-on-1 match.
exactly. Yeah, he can always pull the strings, and he now he has 100% leeway to do so. There's
Oh
nothing. There's
yeah,
no vetoes. There's nothing. The only veto we're gonna get is maybe some Italian guy in the front row, but there's no more there's no more veto power, unfortunately.
but let's see. I know there's a few other.
Sure. Well, we're talking about, of course, Project Mayhem. They, in the form of Eden and Smiley, are going to be going for the World Tag Team Championships against Death Row. So that's another. And Smiley, I mean, I'm sorry, Trixie will be in their corner. That's already confirmed. She'll be out with them. So
Well, my only thing with that is going to be, I doubt it would happen. But again, Smiley as the GM, who the hell knows at this point?
there's, there's no
Oh,
reasoning. What do they say? There's no arguing with crazy, and
okay. Well, all I'm going to say is this: if it were to
reasoning with
happen,
insanity.
oh yeah, if it were to happen that all of a sudden they were to pull some shenanigans, I don't want to be in the building for the aftermath of that because
hmm
knowing how tall Bruno and Tella are,
Well, they're
I don't
immense.
know who would be safe. If all of a sudden
They're
they lose the belts that quickly because Smiley pulls one of his tactics.
Bruno has been on, what is it? I always think of Boomer and Carlton, but it was Carlton and I'm trying to
Oh,
think who was.
Carton Roberts.
Yes, he was on multiple times promoting the show too on WFAN this week.
What?
So I know he's amped up about this match.
Oh
So
yeah,
I just hope that he isn't blinded by that. I hope he's like we said, you can't reason with insanity, and
no.
there's always variables that Trixie is going to present, and just going against Project Mayhem as a Oh, I hate that name, Project Mayhem. It sounds like a shitty Tommy Lee side project. You know. Oh,
It, it,
he's got Duff McKagan and the guitarist from Stone Temple Pilots, like one of those other
oh,
shitty like super groups or something.
you're right. It's like it's almost like, okay, so when are we getting Project Mayhem in theaters?
That's right. Yeah, but I'm not gonna. They did best to me, so I can't say anything. Well, then we have Keys to the Kingdom holder Steve Pena versus Fight or Fucking Dies Chris Barton. So that's going to be an interesting match too. Hispanos Unidos' Steve Pena versus Barton, and Barton, I think he's going to want to prove himself at Magic, and then hopefully this opens up the door too for De Niro to come in and fight or die to compete in the tag team
Oh,
division.
I've said that for a while. When it comes to Fight or Die, to me they're one of my favorite tag teams.
Absolutely,
And I've seen them in action plenty of times. And with them, it's like, and I forgot where I heard it, and it was perfectly said. It's not a title. It's not just their title, so to speak.
Mhm.
It's a way of life.
Yeah. Oh, those two scary individuals. So I kind of, but then again, it's like Hispanos Unidos, much like Project Mayhem. They always have their hand in the match. They always. I don't know the exact match order. The only thing I'm hoping is that maybe the best way we'll get a fair fight out of the Barton and Pena match is if that we see maybe Hispanos Unidos involvement earlier. I don't know. No,
Hey,
actually,
yeah, but here's the thing also. Espados Unidos is a big enough group. All of a sudden, I can see it's something where, and again, I'm not recommending this, but I can
right.
see something where it's like a split up type of thing, where all of a sudden it's like, well, we'll send you two over here, send Azrael and Donovan here, and then Felipe and Cage here. So
Well,
that's
they
the
don't have any scheduled matches, best I know, for the evening. Any of the other members of Hispanos Unidos. So as best I know, so they might just be open to, for security the whole evening, and
oh,
we might say just the Hispanos Unidos show up, in full force to support Pena in that match. So I don't know. I'm hoping De Niro is going to be Barton's insurance policy somehow. Maybe he's waiting in the wings that night because
hey, all I
that
know
could
is
be
this.
interesting.
All I know is this: if De Niro's the insurance policy,
Mhm.
good luck
They'll
to
be
whoever
okay.
comes out of Espados Unidos.
Absolutely. And then we
But
get
I
the
know,
boss man. The boss man is in action. He's putting the Dark Arts Championship against in a student teacher match. We've seen him go against Preacher. That was a big teacher, big influence in Steve Off's life. So we saw him best him. We saw him go against Cheeseburger in a Pure Rules match. So now continuing with that, where he's felt it necessary to prove to his senseis, and the sensei in this case in Magic, the icon, the myth, the man, the legend, Magic. I just saw his girlfriend earlier today too, but that sounds scandalous. That no, if she was at work, and I don't want any problems with Magic. Go crush me. But this is another instance where you see Steve Wolf going against one of the people who was instrumental in teaching him and showing him the ways. And Magic is affectionately referred to as sensei. Like I call like Pete Rosato my sensei and everything, but his affectionate nickname from talent is sensei because he's taught so many people how to wrestle. Like there's a good chance if your favorite wrestler, quote unquote, in the New Jersey area has been trained by Magic at one point or
oh,
another.
more than likely.
He is he's a fountain of information. So, for him to come in for the Dark Arts Championship and compete under Dark Arts rules, I think Steve will still be respectful of him. Like I don't think he's going to use the Dark Arts rules to any kind of like means to an end in this match. I think Steve Off's going to give him the fairest match, like similar to what we saw against maybe Cheeseburger or something like that. I think we're gonna see him, have one of the more respectful Dark Arts matches that we've seen in recent times.
And I think also, and again, nobody knows what the order of the matches is as of now,
Right.
but I think to me, I think if I were to pick one match to close out the show,
Hmm.
it would be Magic and Steve Off.
Yeah, it would be good. I'm hoping that envision in my head that we have that respect finish, no matter Magic is victorious and takes the championship in an upset, or Steve Off, wins. I'm hoping that we have that moment where they're shaking hands after that match, because
Because,
a lot of respect on the
oh
line
yeah.
there.
And I think with the way I look at it is, if I'm a booker, the match I want to close out is the one that has the most emotional investment in it.
Oh, definitely,
And to me, the one, if you look at any of the matches on that card, to me, the one that has the most emotional investment is Steve Luck and Magic.
absolutely,
Because you can
absolutely.
easily, the story is there.
Right. And this is I think this is the final chapter. He's gone through all his teachers at this point, so and this match beckons back to like the BWO and stuff like that. So there's a lot of historical significance with this
Well,
match. So I
we
think,
all know Steve Luck is going to keep the title till Luke is able to wrestle.
man, I'm wondering, like, I always wonder if we're gonna see a day where like all these the promoters' kids are gonna I'm gonna see them fighting like Joe Bellini's kid and Steve Off's kid and Chad Minna's kid. Like they're all gonna like I know
What?
Carter probably I'm sorry Logan has a real good chance the way that he's always around the wrestling ring. So who
Oh
knows?
yeah, but it was definitely. But I mean, on paper, I think the card looks good.
Oh, absolutely. And then
It
another
looks.
match,
Mhm.
Prolific's Isaiah Wolf is going to take on Vargas. So that's kind of an interesting match, because they've been two ships passing in the night. Like they've never entered each other's lane. Like they've both had separate agendas that really didn't conflict in the past. So the fact that the two of them are going to I love a match like this, because it's like you don't know what to expect, because you don't know where the aggression lies. Like these guys really shouldn't have too much of a problem with each other, but they've been obviously prolific. You know,
Yeah, it's gonna definitely be. This is one match that it's like I would be curious to see how it comes out on paper, because on
hmm
paper it looks like it could be a very good match, but then on the other hand, it's like this one's also one of those ones where it's like you can have so many outside variables in it,
absolutely.
because with Vargas, who knows who, because he was on Smiley's team who won.
hmm
Who knows if Smiley's going to have some sort of in that. And I don't think Prolific would, but you also have to remember Prolific is not just one person.
Right,
So that's one where it's like, that'd be more of like the outside interference, I'd be curious to say.
right, right. Yeah, so that should be interesting. But Vargas already has his. He already has what he needs. With the Chad Adams behind him, and he's going to get his chance at the championship. He just has to play the waiting game now. If he's wise.
Oh yeah, like I said, there's a chance you can have a triple threat match between him, Moth, and Carr.
There's something to be said about just letting them fight it out too. The old rope a dope strategy. Let Kerr exhaust himself with Moff and STG and this one and that one, and then when he gets his chance at the anniversary show, you know,
Well, I would just love to see it just for one reason. I would love to
mm,
see if the ring can withstand all
well,
three
if
of
we
them.
could stand Keith Lee and Ace Romero, I think we'll be safe.
But for people who, if they want to still buy tickets, where can they buy the tickets?
Ticket Leap, backslash. You could just go onto Ticket Leap and search Pro Wrestling Magic. The one event will come up, and you can just easily access it from there. Or you know, while you head over to Pro Wrestling Magic on Facebook and follow. Hopefully, if you haven't done already, you could find pretty much every post has the Ticket Leap direct link, and that'll bring you there. And there's also a QR code on all the graphics and everything like that. But great graphics this time. I think Chadaman, but I might be getting his name wrong, but he did a real good job on the graphics again. So
And also, folks, I could be wrong on this, Shane. You could also get tickets at the door.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I'm sorry, I forgot to mention that, but you can always buy tickets at the door. However, that usually is gonna put you out of the front row realm because typically front row sells out, well ahead of the event. So, but you're certainly welcome to come and buy tickets at the door,
Well,
and we'll certainly seat you in those comfortable Ridgefield Chuck chairs, those cushy chairs.
just if you've never been to a show in Richfield Park, to anybody who's watching, just be prepared for one big thing. There are no barricades.
That's right.
So if all of a sudden you see a wrestler standing right next to you and you see another wrestler, the other wrestler in the ring about to jump, my suggestion, move out of the way.
Exactly, and one section out of the four tends to be the splash zone on each event. So, like, if you see the action typically coming that way, I would certainly give them their room. There's certain fans that they'll sit there like, oh, I'm not afraid, but it's not a matter of you being afraid. Get the fuck out of the way because you don't want anybody getting hurt because of you being in the way, and you
Well,
certainly
I
don't want to get
forgot.
hurt.
Actually, remember what show it was now? It was the show where Carter took on Moth in the Uno Mas match.
Oh, okay,
And I remember where we were sitting. We were on. So now, if you're looking at it from hard cam, we were on the left side of hard cam.
okay,
And all I remember from that was we became the splash zone that night.
oh yeah,
Because, and mind you, where we were sitting was where it was literally happening. So half the time
exactly,
when they were going, I just sit there going, "Oh, okay, okay, I'm gonna move out of the way now. Okay, good."
right, right,
Like there would be a lot of times I look at the wrestler and go, "Okay, he's okay."
yeah, exactly.
But definitely, folks, I definitely recommend going to see the show if you have nothing else to do on a Saturday. Definitely go. It's very easy to get to Ridgefield Park. Parking is great, as you know, as long as you park in the right spot. Don't get yourself a ticket.
Exactly. If it has a yellow curb, hit the bricks. Nothing but a yellow curb. And if it snows, then it gets tricky because it's don't you can only park on the left side of the street. But I've seen the signs on both sides of the street. So if it's a two-way street, what's the left? It's like a philosophic
Yeah.
dilemma.
Well, you made the comment about the yellow break, yellow part of the brick. Yeah, I learned that one the hard way.
Oh yeah. And I
But
don't know
also,
about that municipal lot. I think if you park with those meters, you're golden. I don't know. They really don't
yeah, no,
police that.
they don't
All
check
right.
over there.
I won't be responsible for your ticket if you get ticketed,
Uh,
but I'm putting
folks,
it out there.
we're not suggesting anything. But also, folks, if you'd like to go eat something in that area, you definitely can. There's a lot of great food
So
down
many
there.
good options.
There's the infamous 7-Eleven that everybody goes to.
Oh god, that's the worst option.
There's actually one over there that I want to try next time I'm in by that building.
The Peruvian place is
Babo's.
the best restaurant over there. Oh, Babos sucks, man. I don't know. I've been there multiple times, but
Never been there.
yeah, I don't know. It's not a proud option, Babos. It's like when I'm crossing the
Unfortunately,
street over, it, I'm like, oh, not again. But I don't know.
unfortunately, the I only I want to I'll be back in that building the end of next month.
Hit the
Yeah,
Peruvian place, La Casa del Chef. It's the best restaurant over there.
I'm definitely gonna check it out. But Shane, first of all, thank you for hopping on.
Oh, anytime, my friend.
I appreciate it a lot. What else do you have coming up that you like to promote and anything as far as social media wise? The floor is yours.
Well, thank you. I definitely want to, promote the Warriors of Wrestling show that's going to be on March 11th in St. Finbar. That's going to be crazy. We got Maria Kanellis, The Kingdom, in action. You got Sinister Minister James Mitchell, who's giving a seminar on the 10th, and he'll be there with Max the Impaler, who will also be in action. Mia Yim, I believe, is there that night. It's the same night as Big Event, so we never knew who was going to be in the building. We've always had surprises, so that's going to be a big show for Warriors of Wrestling. I hope you come, to that as well. But you can get me at World's Fair with an S, World's Fair NYC across all social media. I kind of clean that up, grab them all up. But so other than that, I'm an open book. You want to hit me up? Got any questions or anything like that? Feel free to answer. But please follow me on all social media. I appreciate it.
And also, Don't you also have a pro wrestling tee store?
Yes, I do. Thank you. I have and I have I have a design incoming too, which will be probably this week. Two designs actually coming in.
Nice.
So we'll put those up. But in the meantime, I got that awesome GI Joe design, which is probably one of the greatest shirts I've ever seen. I love that design. My friend Andy, Ukrainian artist, designed that with all the shit he's got going on, and this is what he's doing is
Yeah.
making beautiful designs. So I try to overpay him, for whatever I have, just to support him.
But I definitely recommend anybody to go check out Shane's Pro Wrestling Tees store.
Oh, thank you. Appreciate that.
Eventually, one of these days, I will be in. Also, there's my birthday at the end of next month. I may
Ooh,
treat myself to
nice.
a present.
There we go. Yeah. So yeah, I have to get them printed too because it's I would like to have my events, but
Believe me, you're talking to somebody who tends to have some stuff at events.
got my Gino Got shirt on too. I just want to let him know I'm supporting him too.
Definitely,
Italiano by Zan.
definitely go check all that out. But Shane, again, thank you so much for hopping on. I
Oh,
appreciate it a
thank you.
lot.
I appreciate you, John. Appreciate everything you do for us, man.
My pleasure. But guys, for Shane Fair, again, you can catch Shane in action. Call him, be in the ring announcer that he is this Saturday, February 25th, at the Mecca for Pro Wrestling Magic. Again, Shane, thank you so much.
Thank you,
For
man.
Shane, I'm John. This has been another installment of the On the Ropes podcast, and we'll catch you guys in the next one.